This week, we travel into the heart of the antique mecca of the Northeast, Bouckville. Tens of thousands of people from all over the country travel to this annual event. But Little Bouckville is much more than antiques. This tiny hamlet has a big history, appropriately housed in the tiny Chenango Canal Cottage Museum.
Well, we don't know originally what the building was here. It was an old tin shack, and it was brought here and settled, on a small basement. But in 1916, the barber across the street's grandfather, Mr. Shattuck, created a barber shop, and there are fixtures in the ceiling behind me that shows where the lights hung down. And he had a little cup with water in it for a comb, and they had an outhouse down at the bottom. And he barbered here for a long time, and it's still in the family since then. And the grandson barbers across the street today. When people came by and saw what we were doing with the trail and with the Cottage Museum, they would come and donate some of their labor, and we worked very hard on it for a whole summer, and we got it open. And there are photographs of a whole lot of historic happenings that are local, and people like to come and see. Right now we've got information about the canal and local businesses and how the Landmark Tavern across the street was originally created to be full of stores with like a dry goods emporium, and they had hops that stored in the top attic with molasses stored, and they had a blacksmith shop down below, and they had 3 other stores there. It was one of the first mini malls.
For those who think that Cooperstown is the mecca for baseball, you should take a ride down here to Bouckville. This little hamlet produced 2 major league players. One was Snake Wiltse, who played for the Highlanders, and the Highlanders then went on to become what is known today as the New York Yankees. And there's also his brother, it was his brother, correct? Younger brother, whose nickname was Hooks Wiltse. He went on to play for the New York Giants. Quite a bit of history right here in this little town of Bouckville.
You can read all about the history of the Bouckville Summits baseball team in Jim Ford's book, The Pride of Cidertown, available in local shops and bookstores. Jim is currently working on a new book about the history of the Motts Company.
Most people do not know that the Motts Company started in Bouckville, New York. We're standing here in Bouckville in one of the mills that used to be associated with the Motts Company. The particular feed mill that we're standing in right now used to be the vinegar plant for the Motts Company. Mr. Mott was originally from the Albany area, and in 1868 moved his family here to Bouckville. Interestingly, they came by canal. They came by the Chenango Canal with their possessions. He was a 1/3 owner in a cider and vinegar plant. Within a couple of years, he bought out his partners and established the Mott's Cider and Vinegar Company.
The canal that brought the Motts family to Bouckville is being revitalized by the Chenango Canal Association. Through the help of volunteers, the Chenango Canal Towpath Trail now stretches along the summit through Bouckville.
Well, what we have behind us is the Chenango Canal. This was a canal that was built in the mid-1800s and ran from Binghamton to Utica, 97 miles. And what we have remaining is a short section of the canal where we have, with a volunteer group, the Chenango Canal Association, developed a hiking trail that's now somewhat over 7 miles long. The project this year has been to keep the trail clear, and with the village of Hamilton to extend it into the village of Hamilton. So we've added about 2 miles of trail this year with the help of the village, and we now have a connection that runs almost 7.5 miles. Well, this canal was active for somewhat over 40 years in the mid-19th century and was a major route of commerce at that time. Unfortunately, the development of the railroads came along in the later 1800s and made the canal obsolete, and it fell into disuse in the 1870s.
There's the fruit of my labor when I get bored. Tell me that it's mightier than the sword. It's sweet and subtle as a song of the wren. Well, if a drunk man's words are a sober man's mind, it's all the same to her unless it's written on that line. Everything fades away without my pen. He who reaps, he writes, he sows. Patiently the pen waits under my nose. I come up with a...
Behind me are the remnants of an aqueduct that used to go over the Oriskany Creek. It was the Chenango Canal. Come down here today and you'll find quite a few fishermen, as we did, and there's a reason for that, because I'm told that when the fish go over that little waterfall, they're really quite stunned, and therefore they're easier to catch.
Well, I got the job and I got the money, got the home, got the honey, but where does it lead me from here?
There were 116 locks built in the Chenango Canal. Right here alone, there were 500 Irish immigrants who worked on the canal, and not too far from here they lived in a shanty town that had the name New Dublin.
What kind of spirit?
When the Irish were not working on the canal during the summertime, to keep busy during the wintertime, what did they do? They built houses, like the house behind me. It is absolutely gorgeous. Take a look at it if you take a ride down here, because it's made of cobblestone and it has double walls. When the Irish built these homes, they created their own form of insulation by building two separate walls. There'd be the outside one, then an airspace in the middle, and then the inside wall. They were very clever people.
Farewell, you colliery workers, to the muffler and the cap. Farewell, you Rhondda Valley girls, we never will come